Board here. All right. Hello, friends. Chris McMillon here with another interview for Autonomy Season 1, and I'm here with Sam Bivens. Sam, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Chris?
Fine. I'm fantastic. So, Sam, you're an artist. Yeah. You do graphic art. What?
No, I just do I haven't delved into graphic art yet, but it is something I was interested in. The graphic that I showed a couple days ago on Discord was one of my favorite inspirations.
Have you always been interested in art? How did you get into it?
So whenever I was really young, I had a bunch of traumatic events in my life, and it kind of shut down my ability to imagine things for myself. So what I did imagine was it was all coming from what I was personally experiencing, and when I was actually able to imagine things, it was because I was reading books that I could relate to and I could put myself into. So I started drawing and creating the scenes that I was creating in my mind for the books, like you would a movie. And yeah, that's how I just got into drawing. I just wanted to draw whatever I was imagining from these books. I had such a hard time imagining things on my own.
Who have been some of, as far as art goes, anyone particular that's been influential? Like whose style do you particularly resonate with? Who's been a big influence on you in the world of art?
I actually don't have any favorite artists that I've found yet. I usually just go and I find pieces of art that I resonate with, and if I can't find it, I try to create it. So I don't know, maybe I will find a favorite artist one day.
What about the classical, the art that you see, the classical art? I'm talking about Picasso, Rembrandt, Velázquez. Are there any of those artists that you're a fan of?
Van Gogh, because of, he, if I'm correct, I could be even getting him mixed up. I believe he's the one who had his ear cut off.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he had a problem with his eyes that caused him to see the halos around the things. And I remember that I learned about that, and I was really scared because I could see halos around things because I needed glasses, and I didn't know that I needed glasses. So I thought that maybe I was going to end up like Van Gogh because I could see the halos. But I liked how he blends what he's experiencing with what he's experiencing is quite fantasy-like. It's quite mystical and not what everyone else experiences. I like artists that do any sort of that kind of work.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I suffer from something called tinnitus or tinnitus, which is permanent ringing in your ears. And he's on the list of quote-unquote famous people who have had it. Now, how do they know that? I've never confirmed it. Did he talk about that? Could that have been a factor as to why he cut his ear off? I don't know. But in any case, you and I have something in common there. One of Van Gogh's affliction is related to problems, or in your case, it didn't turn out to be a problem, but
yeah.
And also, he has one of his most famous paintings is that of his bedroom. And I do ESL classes, teaching, and that's one of my favorite paintings that I use. It's fantastic for prepositions. Okay, the chair is next to the bed. What's on the table? The window's above the table, and there's so much to use, and it's something that people can always connect with. No, Van Gogh is definitely a massive artist. He's such a huge influence. What about, you're from Shreveport, is that right?
I was born in Shreveport, yes.
Excellent. What about your journey? I mean, you've moved around a lot. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, So yeah, I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I was pretty much raised back and forth between the Louisiana border and Texas. Um, my biological father lives in Dallas, Arlington, and my mom and her family lives, in Shreveport. So I was shuffled back and forth. When I was about 4, my stepdad, who was in the Air Force, got relocated to Nebraska. So I lived in Nebraska about 20 miles away from where Kurt lived. And maybe about an hour away from where Kurt lived when I was 4. And then we moved back to Louisiana and Texas. A bunch of moving in between there, in between those states. And then when I was 3 weeks shy of 18 years old, they decided again that they were going to move us to Nebraska. And a couple years later, I met Kurt. He was in the military at that point, and we had gotten married. The weekend after we got married, he got stationed in South Korea. So we went to South Korea for a year, and then Colorado, and back to Nebraska, and now Richmond. So that's been the traveling.
At which point during this journey that you're on, did you take the metaphorical red pill? Did you realize that there's a much bigger picture going on than the world that we're supposed to believe?
Yes, I like to say that I've kind of like subconsciously known it all along. I don't know if that's me being a little arrogant. It might be, but I've always felt like, one, I am very different from most people that I talk to.
Sorry to interrupt, Sam, but that's the whole theme of the Red Pill Expo coming up, is because you know something is wrong, right? So you've always known something was wrong.
And then I had met Kurt, and through no fault of his, we were both very, I was so I was like, oh, look, smart man who kind of knows something that I don't. We learned from each other, and it wasn't until he got out of the military, we moved into a little trailer, and Kurt got into an accident with a motorcycle. And for some reason, I didn't think anything was going to change. I just thought, I woke up and he was in a motorcycle accident, and I went and saw, took care of him, and I just thought that he'd heal and go back to work, and we'd just keep moving. That's not what happened. He spent 4 to 6 months in the living room just watching conspiracy theories and information. It wasn't until that point where we actually started having a lot of, I call it the angry phase, where you start realizing that everything you have been lied to this entire time. And I had remembered we got into a argument because he had just watched a drone bombing video of some sort. And I said, yeah, we shouldn't be, our country shouldn't be over there dropping bombs on other people. Like, we should really be taking care of, ourselves and our people that we can. And I used the phrase, we should be taking care of our own people first. And he got so livid. He's like, that mindset is what's screwing us all over. And it wasn't until, at that point that I was like, whoa, there's something to be angry about. There's something here that I don't understand that I thought I did. We had a lot of arguments over his change in philosophy, and just through my being with him and being his partner, I was like, all right, if my partner's changing, I either need to figure out how they're changing and decide whether I want to continue with it or not. And the more I found out about it, the more I was like, oh, this stuff all makes sense. Yes, of course we've been brainwashed through school, and pretty much everything that you've ever learned is a lie, or there's only a grain of truth in it. And there was never really a moment where I just took a pill and I was like, I'm woke now, but it was a slow and progressive the only thing I can think of that really like changed my mind was I was raised Southern Baptist, and I stopped believing in God in a sense, in the sense that I'd always believed that there is one God, he is this God, these are the rules. I lost my faith in a way. I didn't lose my faith, or in a way, I completely lost it. And when I started realizing that the religion that I was raised in has very similar stories and about like 12 other religions that I could, that were named off in a documentary. And I actually researched that. I was like, oh, okay, so clearly there's something that I'm missing here. That was probably a moment where I was just like, oh, okay, there's a huge chunk of my life that has been corrupted, not just, forgotten, but corrupted in a way.
Yeah, just studying other religions and a bit of the history that goes along with them, and you start connecting the dots. These are, as you know, intentionally just not talked about, told to us. Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated with like mythology of different cultures.
What about Tragedy and Hope and the Autonomy course? How did you end up here?
I have actually not been it's not that I'm not a fan of Tragedy and Hope, but I naturally have a problem with liking to entertain myself a little bit too much. So unless Kurt puts on videos, I tend to, go towards Game of Thrones. But he had watched numerous videos, and anytime I want to be interested in what he's doing, I'm subjected to it, which is probably why I keep him around. It's very useful.
It sounds like you two were an equal influence on each other in the learning process, yeah?
Yes. I had known who Richard Gogh was. I knew that he was the founder of Tragedy and Hope, but I didn't know. What I really knew about him was his his interview with John Taylor Gatto. That was one of the first things that I actually watched by myself and then rewatched by myself, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is real information. Anything that has to do with child abuse or brainwashing of children or any of that, anything that has to do with children in that way, my brain just latches onto it. But
and the Ultimate History Lesson does a great job tracing the philosophy back to Plato's Republic to today's current education system. And John Taylor Gatto clearly lays it all out in the Ultimate History Lesson. That was my first exposure to Richard Grove's work as well. The first time I'd seen him, because I was following John Taylor Gatto and his work at that time. So yeah, similar introduction there.
That's awesome. It wasn't until Kurt was 6 weeks into the Autonomy course where I don't even remember what it was. There was a book or something that Kurt. Oh, it was The Body Keeps the Score. I could never remember if it was that book or not, but it was The Body Keeps the Score. He had been suggested it by Jordan, and he got about 3 chapters in, and amazingly, he was able to wake me up.
Sorry, what's it called? Body Keeps its Score.
The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh, okay, I have not heard of it. Yeah, I'm just jotting it down here. I'm always getting ideas.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. So he had come into the bedroom and he woke me up from the morning, which is usually not a good idea. I wake up angry sometimes. But he just started talking about a book, and I was like, well, this is weird. Kurt's talking to me about reading material, like a physical book. This is unusual. And we talked for 3 hours, I think, without having a single misunderstanding, argument, little even tip. And we've been married almost 9 years. We don't go a single day without being like, no, this is, we got to deal. We got to have a little spat. But we were able to communicate about something. The connection was intense. It was just like 3 hours of intense communication, which shouldn't seem so strange. And it's like, whoa, have we been missing this the entire time? And I think it was a week later, I was again doing something to entertain myself, and Kurt came around and he was like, so one of these guys in the course just did a presentation about occult, knowledge, and about like tarot cards and, all that stuff. And he doesn't believe in any of it. I have fought for years because he thinks, there's no weight in it. It's, a money sink in a way. And it's always been a point of contention because he's actually always been atheist since we've met. And I was not atheist. So we've struggled to try and understand and respect others' beliefs or non-beliefs in a way. So for some reason, this horse was able to present him with information about this topic that only I am usually interested in. And he was able to pass it along and absorb it and actually learn something from it. It was just absolutely incredible. I never thought that I would be able to have a conversation with Kurt about magic and tarot cards and intuition and, chakra systems, symbolism. It's usually conversations that I have with other people, and then we have conversations about facts and stuff like that when I talk to Kurt. So
yeah, cool. So how did that lead to Autonomy?
I figured that if there was a course that was able to open up Kurt's mind to accept some of the more abstract aspects of spirituality that I'm interested in, that it was worth giving it a shot. There was something that I could learn, because apparently it was able to communicate something I've been trying to communicate to my own husband for the last 6 years and been unsuccessful. So
Yeah, that's great.
To be honest, Autonomy has been the best marriage therapy that I think I've ever come across other than firearms.
I remember when you were talking on Discord the first time, because your name was Sam, and I had seen you there, but then when you were talking, I said, oh, it's a girl. And then I made the connection. Oh, hold on. It's the same last name. Okay, cool. Yeah. Very good. So how are you finding Autonomy so far?
It is, I don't even know how to explain all of the usefulness that I've gotten out of it. I have, for the first time in my life, actually been able to, I get a little tripped up on words.
Yeah. What skill would you say has improved the most that you didn't have before since you started doing Autonomy?
My self-confidence, for sure.
Yeah, cool.
It's actually hilarious. I can't wait to tell this story, write it in a testimonial for Richard. But the day that I signed up for Autonomy, I had paid for half the course, and 2 hours later was when I realized that I had some traumatic events in my past that I had to deal with. It was like, oh, okay, you're gonna be autonomous? Deal with this. And then I got on to Discord, and that was when I didn't realize that if you had your mic unmuted, that meant people could talk to you. And I just thought that if I had to press to talk, that no one would talk to me because I was new. And I was struggling to control a panic attack as I was having that conversation. And I remember the best thing was, one, I didn't have a panic attack. It seemed like everyone kind of just asked me a couple questions and then got to, assess how I was. And then all of a sudden Rich got on there and was like, hey, you did really good. And it's really cool that you're here. And it just, I don't know, it's like a lot of people come to this course to look for knowledge. They look for, how do I put this information into a thing that's going to make me understand it better? And the best skill that I've gotten out of this is really just a community to be able to be yourself and test yourself out on. In a way, I'm not testing my skills. I'm testing myself out on everyone else here that's willing to interact with me.
Excellent. You say you overcame some trauma in the beginning. Was that because of the work of Byron Katie by any chance?
I did see her, which one was it? It was the one that was in the lecture.
Okay, but it wasn't that was, you didn't do what they call the work?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, I find that fascinating, all of that, what the work she's done that I've seen. I haven't done, quote unquote, the work either myself, but I don't see why not. If I ever get a chance, might find out something interesting or overcome something interesting you didn't have or you thought you didn't have. But it's definitely in my bookmarks, and I downloaded a lot of her material. So yeah, I mean, the course, that's just such a small fraction of all the valuable information that we've been getting as well from the course.
Yeah. And personally, one of the biggest accomplishments I've been able to do is everyone, Richard said at the beginning of the lectures, he was like, everyone's got baggage, and sometimes you just don't know how to put it down. You don't even know that you're carrying it. And for me, that was the case. It's like I've been persevering for so long that my saddle baggage just became part of me. And it wasn't until I joined the course where I was like, I can put this down, cool. I don't have to carry it forward, and I don't have to forget it either, because that was, everything else is just like, as soon as I did that, it's come just much more naturally, just like taking the next step.
Cool. That's great. I mean, it's exciting. And there's 3 of you in the same house who are on the course. So it makes it much easier to share notes, compare notes, help each other, support each other. And you and Kurt are getting the van, and you're going to be taking the van to Red Pill Expo in a few weeks. So that's very exciting. Yeah. So what do you have a certain route involved that you're going to take? Or, I mean, are you going to do a little tour around, or are you coming straight there? And have you found anyone to give a ride yet?
We haven't found anyone who needs a ride, although we are still, I don't know, maybe we'll pick up a homeless person on the way there, red pilled up. But Kurt's usually the navigator because I have narcolepsy. I don't do well driving or riding in cars for long extended periods of time. So I'm sure that he has a route planned out, but I think we're just heading straight there. I think we're gonna camp. We're gonna bring a tent, maybe try and camp, or just crash in the van for the weekend, and then head straight back. Unless something else happens to present itself, we're very much those kind of people who will plan to go there for a weekend, and then someone's like, hey, we could go do something, and we end up staying another week. I enjoy doing things.
How far is it from Richmond to Hartford?
8 hours.
Oh, that's nothing. That's like from Dallas to New Orleans.
Yeah. I mean, when we lived in Colorado, we came back. We went back to Nebraska, and it was only like 6 hours. I've driven that actually by myself before, so.
That's great, Sam. One of the key themes of autonomy is time management, and one thing that struck that resonated with me was how are you investing your time or are you wasting it? So that didn't what that made a difference with me was, at least when I'm wasting my time, it's planned and I'm enjoying it, and this was on my agenda. I'm gonna waste time. So last night was the finale of Game of Thrones, and it was great time wasted, good fun. Have you seen the finale yet?
I have not.
I won't
but
say.
I know.
I won't say anything.
Oh, I don't care about spoilers, because I once read that there's no evidence saying that you enjoy it any less. I remember flipping to the back of the very last Harry Potter book and being like, whoa, what is going on? And then by the time I got back to it, it wasn't even until after I'd read it that I remembered that I had already read the beginning, the ending of it. So I don't think it actually matters. I did see the very ending where they crowned the new king, but that was it.
What do you mean? Oh, of Harry Potter.
They decided, oh, yeah. Or, no, sorry, it was Game of Thrones.
Oh, so you saw the ending.
I saw a little bit of thing.
So you know who gets crowned king?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Why not? It wouldn't. It was a bit of a surprise. I was happy for him. I read a lot of criticism online, but it's just good fun. George Martin, he writes these fantasy stories, and of course, from our point of view, when you watch shows like this, you're able to kind of weed out the propaganda that's instilled in them. And there was a scene in the final. I'm not giving away much here, but they're trying to figure out how to choose a new king. And Sam, the maester, suggests, well, look, if we're making a decision for the people, shouldn't we ask the people? And they all looked at him for a second. And then everybody just started laughing. Okay, sit down, Sam. And that was it. The scene went on. But anyway, yeah, stuff like that. But as long as you know a show, okay, this is it. Okay, I'm gonna enjoy it for what it is. I'm gonna enjoy it for its, the theme, the special effects, all the other factors that you like it. But
the storyline is. He's an amazing writer. He really is. He's thrown in a lot of symbolism and a lot of archetypes that, and it's very well written, I must admit. But as soon as they got a hold of it, a TV show, I kind of lost a little faith because of course, the books are always better.
Always, yeah, always. I can only think honestly. The Shining may be one of the rare moments where a book or a movie was better than the book. But it's hard. The book is always better.
I have never actually read or seen anything by Stephen King. And I love my answer why. I have narcolepsy, so I see things when I go to sleep and when I wake up. And Stephen King is so brilliant, I think, in my mind, that I don't want to put that in my mind. I think that if I read that, it would just manifest in my brain, and I'd be really bad hallucinations that I don't want to have. So I kind of give him his credit, as in he is so probably good of a writer that I can't risk his stuff.
I don't think I've ever heard that justification for not reading someone before, but that's really, why not? Very good, Sam. Well, Sam, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Nope, I think you asked all the good questions.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, good fun.
Thank you.
All right.